What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are looking at Assetto Corsa once again, which has just received another DLC package as well as the 1.4 update, which was a relatively minor update. There were a few graphical improvements, some AI improvements which I haven't tested out yet, as well as some new anti-lag software that they put in for the multiplayer to help better predict in case of lost packets and that sort of thing, to just help overall reduce rubber banding, also which I have yet to test. Now this came out on Tuesday, which for me is yesterday. Recording this on Wednesday, and you guys will obviously see it today being Thursday for you guys. So briefly, we're going to quickly look over the new cars that were added over here. If you want to just jump straight to the action, I'll put an annotation on the screen now. If that doesn't show up for whatever reason, check the description down below for the timestamps. But the first new car comes from Abarth. It is the Abarth 500 Assetto Corsa. Tried it, didn't like it. It's kind of what I thought it would be. Slow little thing. Next up, we have the Ford Escort RS 1600, which is actually the only car I haven't driven yet. I forgot about this one when I was testing out all the cars last night, but I have heard that it's pretty good fun. Next up, Lamborghini. We have the Gallardo Superleggera, which comes with two versions. You get the normal standard version, as well as the Step 3 with 1200 horsepower. And that may or may not be the car we're going to look at in the second part of this video. Next up, the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Now I'm not entirely sure why we need both of these cars, because they're both race cars. I'm not entirely sure what's different. I think the GT3 is lighter but heavier. This one is more powerful. Sorry, lighter but heavier. This one has less power but is lighter, and this one is more powerful but is a little bit heavier. I need to put some proper time into these back to back and see how they feel compared to each other. Then, classic Lotus. We have the 72D, which is what we're going to be looking at for the first part of this video. And then the Type 25. We've had the Type 49 for a while, and I think just looking at it, this is an earlier version. Both pretty good fun, actually. McLaren, the 650S GT3. So obviously replacing or adding to the 12C GT3. Also not a bad little car. GT3 car is not really my thing, but it's pretty good fun. And then Mercedes, and I think that's the last new car, the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3. This thing feels really, really heavy through the force feedback. Like seriously, the weight when you turn this car in really, wheel gets really heavy, which is nice and not nice as well, because sometimes it feels like if you need to quickly put on some opposite lock or something, that the wheel's going to fight you the whole time. But I think that is it. There wasn't anything for Nissan. I may have missed something. If I did, I do apologize, but I do think that is it. But the plan is, unless anything changes, is we're going to quickly take out the Lotus 72D around Brands Hatch. We're going to do a few laps. I'm going to talk about the track and about that car, and then going to take out the Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera Step 3 on the Nordschleife. And yeah, unless something goes horribly wrong and I have to change my mind, that is the plan. So let's hop into the Lotus and go and check out Brands Hatch. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Brands Hatch and the Lotus 72D. Now we're just going to very quickly take a few laps, 2, 3, we'll see how it goes. Just a short little section just to talk a little bit about this car and a little bit about this track. Now I haven't changed anything, so everything's pretty much on optimal track settings and pressures. We'll leave it on the hard tires, and we'll see how this goes. Now, just didn't build up the revs quite enough. The first time I drove out this car, it pretty much put a smile on my face immediately, right from about this point. with a little bit of oversteer. This is exactly what I was hoping for from this car. One of my favorite race cars, and I hate this corner, I hate it so much. But one of the things I always loved, well, let's just actually start that all over again. One of my favorite race cars in Assetto Corsa for a very long time was the Ferrari 312 TF1 car. Now I believe this one is a little bit earlier, on in the 70s or whatever. But I always loved that car because it had a good amount of downforce, a good amount of power, but not so much that you couldn't do things like that and it couldn't try and get away from you. So I was really hoping that this car would be similar, and it is. Well, it's just lovely to drive. Sounds pretty good. Handles quite well. I mean, I haven't done a lot of laps. Last night I was literally just hopping from one car to the other, just trying them all out. So I didn't spend a lot of time with anyone in particular. This one is no different. But yeah, this is a great little car. And if you're looking for that classic F1, but not quite as classic as those other two Lotuses from the 60s, this is a good bet, and it'll be interesting to put this up against the Ferrari. As I said, the Ferrari is a newer car, but it'll be interesting to see how they do against each other. But anyways, onto the track. Well, a little bit of a lock up there, or try to. Brands Hatch is not one of my favorite circuits in the world. I don't mind it, and I know it quite well, because this is, especially the indie layout or the shorter layout, whatever it's called, is used by a lot of games early on in like the careers and that. So I don't know, maybe that's why I kind of don't like the circuit, because every time I'm on it I just go, I wish I was driving a proper racetrack, not a short little thing. But this is the full GP layout, so it's a bit better. But again, Kunos always do a fantastic job with their tracks. The environment is good, it's okay. The track surface is good. It's obviously laser scanned as everything else, with the exception of Zandvoort. And I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about it. I mean, it's a good little track, still not one of my favorites, but it's something that I'm glad is in the game. Well, hello there. Lock the rear wheels, I guess, under braking there. But yeah, I mean, it's a good little track. Not my favorite, but I'm glad it's in the game, and yeah, I'm glad I have it now to screw around with, because actually, one thing I kind of discovered while testing some of the cars, this is a pretty fun circuit to just screw around on, and especially like trying to drift and power slide. I was quite surprised with the normal road version of the Lamborghini Superleggera, how nice that thing was to kind of just screw around with and get it to slide out. So that's actually one of the cars I spent most of the time with last night on this track, was the normal Superleggera. Just seeing how crazy I could get this drift angles, and that thing just recovers. So turns out this is a pretty fun, like, screw around drift power slide circuit. So yeah, glad it's here. As I said, they've done a fantastic job again. I mean, I've never driven this, so I have no idea how accurate it is, but it is laser scanned. It looks good. What more is there to say? Another good job on the circuit. But now we're just going to finish off this lap, and then, as I said, we are now going to go and hop into the Gallardo Superleggera around the Nürburgring Nordschleife and go and give that thing a good thrashing, and see what it's like. I did attempt, and we've completely screwed it up again, but this time we managed to catch it. I did attempt it last night, and it was pure madness, but we're going to try it again. I'm probably not going to put the turbos on full boost, because that just makes it horrible. But yeah, we're gonna go and do it and see, and we'll play around, and I'll talk about that car, as well as my opinion on some of the others. But yeah, that is it for our little look at Brands Hatch. If you see something other than the Lamborghini after this, it means it pissed me off and I couldn't do it. But anyways, let's go and see if we can get a video out of the Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera Step 3. Alright, and welcome to the Nürburgring Nordschleife and the Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera Step 3. Now we're going to take it for a lap, see how it does. As you can see, I just kind of did leave things on optimal hot lapping conditions, 100% track grip, 26 degrees air temperature, so some nice warm asphalt. We're going to be running the semi-slick tires, and we're going to leave the turbo boost as it is right now, which I believe is on about 40%. Perhaps after we finish this lap, we'll turn it up to 100, and you guys can just see how crazy it is. Now this is a fairly unruly car, even with the 40% boost, so I cannot promise a clean lap, but we will do our best. So we rocket off the line in a cloud of smoke. But this car very quickly, and a bit of understeer and just general sliding there, but this car very quickly became like one of my favorite cars of the Dream Pack 3 DLC, because I wasn't really expecting it. I think we all, if you were paying attention, you would have seen that we were getting the Gallardo Superleggera, but I had no idea there was this Step 3 version with the potential to have 1200 brake horsepower. And even with the turbos running at just, this 40% boost or whatever it is, I'm going to slide a bit there, it's still quite an unruly car, and you kind of have to be very, very careful, especially under braking. Even the standard, the road version, doesn't quite seem to like any kind of braking and changing any direction, even if no matter how slight. You've really got to brake in a completely straight line, because if you start turning a little bit, it's just going to start sliding away from you. But I couldn't help but compare the Superleggera Step 3 with the 1200 brake horsepower to the upcoming Koenigsegg 1-to-1 mod that is hopefully coming out soon. If you are new to the channel, if you didn't know, I was given access to the mod early to do a preview video on it, and I did some laps around the Nordschleife in that car, and it's kind of showing up this Lamborghini quite a lot, because I know they're not really competitors, but the Koenigsegg feels very much like it was designed from the very get-go, from the beginning, to handle 1300 plus brake horsepower, but understeer there. Whereas this car very much feels like it's a Lamborghini Gallardo with two turbos strapped onto it. According to the description, there were some changes to the suspension and that, but it's still really a handful. And I think it could use some better tires than just the semi-slicks. I'd like to see what this thing could do with the Hypercar Trofeo tire on it, which is a cut slick, or even some proper full-on slick racing tires. Because again, according to the description, on normal sort of unleaded petrol, the Step 3 is capable of 850 brake horsepower, and to get that full 1200 you would be running on race fuel. So why can't we have race tires when we're doing the race fuel as well? But it's a really, really fun car. I think it sounds good. It looks fantastic. I've always loved the way the Gallardo looks. And especially this one, I'll try and on a bit of a straight with the Italian flag, Superleggera written on the side. It just looks amazing. Sounds good, and it's so much fun to drive. Really difficult, and we completely fluffed that up. Just missed our braking point. But that's the one thing with this car. You have to like seriously pay attention to your braking points, because it is quite fast, and this is the bumps again. That's something else I'll get to now, but the brakes, I wouldn't really say they feel like they've been upgraded a whole lot. This thing's too fast in a straight line, doesn't slow down well enough, and in fact, Kunos threw in some humor in the description for this car. The last paragraph, the end of that reads, be sure to brake 2 or 3 kilometers before a corner so you can slow down in time from the insane speeds, and it is very much true. But and then also the suspension and the whole chassis, it just doesn't feel like it wants this much power. I'm going to fall out the carousel a little bit here. Especially over the bumpy stuff, the whole car gets very, very, very unsettled, which is part of the reason why I wanted to bring it here to the Nordschleife, because it is a bumpy track and it will really test this car and test what we can do in it. And it hasn't gone terribly well, but it's still good fun, and like any car that's challenging to drive, it just makes everything feel more rewarding when you get it right. The one thing I do really love about this car is that, generally with the all-wheel drive cars in Assetto Corsa, I don't particularly enjoy them. You put the power down and you feel like the car's pulling away from the apex, or not doing what you want it to do. Whereas I prefer a car that when you put the power down, instead of fighting to keep the front end where pointing where you want it to, you're fighting the rear end. That's my kind of car. That's where I find enjoyment in these difficult cars, or in any car. I want to feel like the car's alive and is trying to kill me, kind of like this thing does. And that's what's great about this car, is that even though I think it still does retain the all-wheel drive system, you can feel it when you're sliding. You can very often get out of a slide by applying a bit more power instead of worrying about spinning the car, and the power going to the front wheels will just pull you out of it. Especially true in the so many mistakes. I actually didn't complete a full lap in this car in my testing, but this has that feeling that you can't just come out of a corner and boot it if you want to, and the power will just overwhelm the rear tires and you'll get a nice little slide. The normal, look at this, nice little, could have had a slightly higher angle there, but even the normal car, again, if you play with it, if you trying to slide it, let's put it on full turbos. If you're trying to get it to slide, you can do that very easily. And only 6 gears, and we're maxing out 348. Unfortunate. Can we go flat through here? I don't trust it, and with good reason. And it's completely gone. It's horrible. It's horrible. We've broken a 1 in a million car. But with the standard car, if you're trying to get it to slide, it will, and that's quite nice. It's one of the few four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive cars I've ever really liked. And you can see as soon as we've gone to the full turbo, it's going too quickly, accelerating too quickly, and you just you're missing your braking points all the time. And I suppose that's something, and you can see here with the bumps, it's just you hit a curb slightly wrong, it's over. So maybe the Nordschleife is not the best place for this car, but it's still fun, and especially with the full boost on, you can really have these nice little slides, and it's not too uncontrollable. It's the bumps, whether it's a curb or just a bump in the racetrack itself, that unsettle the car to no end. And like that, I mean, we're gone, just finished, and we're gonna hit a wall, nearly missed it, and that's what kind of makes this car a bit frustrating to drive sometimes, is that when it starts squirming and when it starts to want to break free, I mean, yeah, 260 kilometers an hour and it's trying to spin all 4 wheels, but when it starts to do that, it just doesn't really very often come back. But as I said, it's a massive challenge, and it's a lot of fun. you can pull these nice little sides, which, you know, for something with 1200 horsepower, and like this section here, you can just see the cars just bouncing around, and then, you know, it's gone. And that was partly my fault, overcorrecting and that sort of thing. But it's just something that happens often in this car. And again, you know, more practice, more time, you'll figure it out. But it's a hell of a workout, and it's a hell of a lot of fun, even with the turbos at 40% boost. But you can always go to full and have even more fun. 7:25 lap time was horrible, but there were a lot of mistakes. And I want to cover this car. I'm not, that's gone now. Not going for lap times. I haven't had a lot of practice in it, so a few mistakes are to be expected. And I really do not feel like starting over and over again like I had to do in the Koenigsegg video. Because that time I was going for lap times and we're gone again. But anyways, that was a look at Brands Hatch and the insane, let's go that way, Gallardo Superleggera. I mean, isn't it just such a good looking car? So I can get off the wall. This one. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this look at Assetto Corsa Dream Pack 3 with 8 new cars and a new track. I hope you guys have enjoyed testing them yourselves. Hopefully my next Assetto Corsa video will be on the final released version of the Koenigsegg 1.1 mod. They have made some changes to it in the testing since I previewed it, so I'm keen to get it back onto the Nordschleife and see how much faster it is compared to the lap time I managed during testing. But yeah, that'll be my next Assetto Corsa video. Possibly, I mean, it depends when it comes out. If I'm even at home, because I'm going to spend Christmas with my parents. But anyways, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing for more Assetto Corsa content, as well as World of Warships, Armored Warfare, and a few other things that are thrown into the mix from time to time. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I will see you guys next time.